If somebody were to ask, what is an educator? What's a teacher? What's an educator? I would suggest we can say the following, that an educator is an influencer. That's what an educator is. We want to influence. And the truth is, everybody is an educator. Everybody is an influencer. The first person we need to educate, the first person we need to influence is ourselves, to become more wholesome, to become more defined, more refined, to become happier, more loving, more consistent. We need to influence ourselves. But that's what a teacher is, a Rebbe, a tzaddik. It's an influencer, somebody we can look at, somebody we can observe, somebody we can learn from, and allow them, hopefully in a good way, to influence us. And as we mentioned, everybody is an influencer. We can't help it. The fact that we are alive, the fact that we are walking around, we're always being watched. And I remember once walking late at night with Rabbi Singer, and we needed to cross the road. And there was a crossing about 15 feet in front of us, and it was the middle of the night, there were no cars. So I suggested, let's cross where we are. And he looked at me and he says, no. And we walked down the road, the 15 feet, and we crossed at the crossing. So I said to him, why? Why this behavior? And he answered, it could be there's a child looking outside the window now. Could be they woke up and they see two people walking along, and in their eyes, we're influencing them. They see us crossing the road, not at the crossing. They may go and do that themselves. And I remember the impact of this level of sensitivity, that we are always being watched. If we like it or not, it's a reality. We're always influencing. So the more truthful we are, the more transparent we are, the more real we are, the more authentic we are, the happier we are, the greater influence we have on people. And there's a level of the tzaddik, there's a level of the righteous one that's of such a caliber that they don't even have to speak. You just watch them and you can't help but transform yourself into something else. You can't help but be inspired. And in the Pirkei Avos, first chapter, first Mishnah, what we read last week was that we should be firm and deliberate in our judgment. The next part of the Mishnah is V'hamidu Talmidim Rabba. Have many students. So I remember I asked Rabbi Singer, have many students? What happens if somebody isn't a teacher? What happens? I asked if somebody's not a Rav. They're not being deliberate in judgment. They're not necessarily having so many Talmidim. And he says, no. Everybody is deliberate in judgment. Everyone needs to be deliberate in judgment. And he says, you're always being watched. You're always an influencer, if you like it or not. So take control of your life, to influence with power, with passion, with positivity. And this fits in to Yosef. In Parshat Mikeitz, where is Yosef now? Yosef is in prison. Yosef now has spent 2 years in prison. Yet what happens is he starts now experiencing these changes. He's in prison for 2 years. Vehi Mikeitz Shnatayim Yamim. Yeah, he's in prison. And then he has the story with the butler, and he has the story with the wine pourer, and then he comes before Paro, and Paro is moved. What are they moved by? They're moved by the fact that he's so authentic, that he's so transparent. They can't help but be influenced by him. So who are all these people to Yosef now? They're his students. He couldn't help but be a tzaddik, and the tzaddik influences. And the people who are influenced are the students. So when we're told to gather many students, it doesn't necessarily mean getting up and speaking in front of a group of people. It doesn't mean that. What it does mean, and what it can mean, as well as that, is that You and I are influencers. We're influencing our friends. We're influencing our children. We're influencing our families. Take charge of that. Recognize how powerful you are. Recognize what you say matters. Recognize what you act out in life matters. It changes people's vantage point of whoever we are and whatever way we're living. People look and they say, oh, look at this, and this person is like this, or this and this person is like this. So Be'ezras Hashem, as we said last week, we could be deliberate in our judgment. And hopefully, like Yosef, we could be portraying our truthful, authentic self and not betraying our truthful, authentic self. And as we portray our truthful, authentic self, we could be influences in the most beautiful, healthy, wonderful, and wondrous ways, making this world, impacting and inspiring this world to be much, much better in all ways, making a world which is more beautiful and beautiful.